which is now spread to countries beyond India, societies beyond India. It has been a very long journey, almost 40 years. It all started when I abandoned a rosy career with the huge multinational company Tata's. That was with a very clear Vedantic thought to work on my life, the Vedantic thought, which says that society changes when every individual changes. But very soon, when I was studying at the Indian Institute of Management, Kolkata, we had these leftist professors there. Calcutta has a very strong leftist tradition. And there, my teacher made me read the originals, Karl Marx and Engels and so on. So there was a confusion about what comes first. Does the society change first? And so which creates conditions for the individuals to change? Or do the individuals change first? That leads to social change. You know, this chicken and egg problem. I'm describing this because this is what has evolved at Manvodaya. We are talking of self-awareness together with collective awareness as a means of definite change, of bringing change in almost all spheres of life: poverty eradication, injustice, inequality, agriculture, health, you name it. The process is, as we have discovered over the last 40 years, it's all about individual awareness and collective awareness. What is this all about? I just wanted to share this with you because we have launched several courses on the subject, which are useful for youth, which are useful for citizens, which are useful for anyone who wants to make a difference. Now, after I graduated from Kolkata, from IIM Kolkata, you can say, having finished my task there, I was for a short time at the Institute of Development Studies, Sussex. Now, most of these academic institutions world over tend to be leftist oriented. So I had written a research paper there, which was also left oriented. That means we're trying to analyze society, why things go wrong. And it was published in the famous Journal of World Development from Oxford. And I was famous at the age of 24, 25. I was already a fellow there. I was famous already trying to write all this kind of leftist stuff, giving seminars. But then my inner conscience didn't allow me. I had started on this journey because of a deep Vedantic thought that individual consciousness is all about change. And because of that, we withdrew from everything from the academic world, came back to India in 1985 and started this idea of Manvodaya. Manvodaya means human awakening. We were absolutely young. We had no experience, no connections, no money. And that is how we started. And what we learned was fantastic. It was money all around. Government giving grants to very poor people, donors having money. And it was a loot. People looting. You know, the prime minister of that time said only 15% of the money reaches the poor. So this is what we observed as young people. Development is all about throwing money at people. And we were totally confused because we saw that the whole idea of development and change was about how much can I grab from that loot. And it was not just about loot. So, we were working with various kinds of, let's say professionals at the village level, the poorest segments of society. And when we enabled a group of carcass flayers to win an auction bid, a huge amount of money started pouring in their hands because they had won the auction. They were selling their dead animals now to the market. And they started getting 10 times the money they were getting for dead animals. Now that created a huge rift among them and they started fighting among themselves, almost killed each other. This is when we realized, we are again very young, that change and development is not about money. It's about something different. It's about collective consciousness, the collective awareness of how to be together, how to do things together, how to set up systems of collective decision making, how to set up systems of acting collectively in everybody's interest. Now, we had to therefore find out what is the best way of doing it. And therefore, this whole movement of self-help came about by this understanding that it is a collective awareness where people come together and are able to go beyond immediate self-interest, look at what is needed. It required, as we found out, need for a collective vision. That implies that if there are a group of women in a village, or there are a group of women anywhere, or even young people, what is it that they're trying to achieve? What is the goal, the immediate goal or the larger goal? So when we entered into a discussion always with this, we found a lot of diverging opinions. We always had to facilitate a process through which people could come to a single opinion of what to do, and working together with a common vision. Once there was a common vision, and I can tell you of this, there's so many stories, whatever I am speaking has so many stories behind each word that I speak. So when we did this for a group in Ethiopia, the women were they were not willing to have an opinion. We said, nothing doing. He said, go back at home at night, think about it. What is it that we want to achieve together? And next morning, they did have a single, collective vision. What are we trying to achieve? To have a collective vision means to facilitate a collective awareness. What are our immediate problems? What are the issues on which we can work together for a positive gain, to be able to work together? This is what we call collective awareness. It has to be facilitated. Now, this is not easy. It is not easy because the society is divided. In all societies, there are all kinds of divisions. In India, it is the caste lines. They're divided along caste lines. There's very strong feudal mindsets. They're very strong gender mindsets. And in a way, people are always, at cross purposes. So within such a society, how do we go forward? How do we facilitate a process through which people are able to look within? Now, Paulo Freire, many of you must have heard of Paulo Freire. He talked of conscientization, a process through which people are able to analyze their own situation. But, in India or in many other countries, it's not just conscientization. It's also trying to look at one's own systems, what works, what does not work. And so we called it collective awareness. This facilitation method, it's not an academic concept. One has to really, we call this in English, we call it social mobilization, enabling people to work together. This process does not happen on its own. It has to be facilitated. Now, who is the person who can facilitate such a process? Because it is so fundamental for evolution of any group of persons, the whole process of being able to sit together and talk together. This requires facilitators who are having a sense of self-awareness themselves. They must be able to understand what are the contradictions in my own self. And we all have so many contradictions. So what are these keys to self-awareness? That's as we explored, as we found out gradually over time. It is a process of freeing oneself from all our biases, from all our prejudices, from all our preconceived notions, from our habits. It's very well documented in the, let us say the literature from many civilizations, especially the Indian civilization. I've been reading literature from the Chinese civilization, from the Greek civilization, but more for the Indian civilization. And I find that the concept of cleanliness, as they say, in Hindi in Sanskrit, they call it shauch, is basic to the process of evolution. Becoming free from all the biases that we have. And we all have so many biases, prejudices of all kinds. Then we have this additional, things that we have to reject. The whole idea of greed, envy, hatred, lust, they all take us into different directions. So as a human being, we are actually in a soup. We are a mixture of 100 things going on inside our minds. So unless we free ourselves from this mixed, arrogance that we can call, which is, we are unable to, how can we actually guide the other person? So that is why almost from 90s onwards, we had started training at Manvodaya in the whole idea of building self-awareness through simple sessions where we could share, everyone was able to share a process of one's own feelings and thoughts towards any particular agenda. This we have been feeling is basic to the whole understanding of life, to the understanding of our own self, and also to gradually enable others to move in the right direction. And these are not just words. We are facing this on a day-to-day basis in our relationships with our close friends, with our relatives, with our, with people around. And all the time we find that we lose our balance. We, on very, idiotic things, I would say, which are based very often on our biases, very often on our greed. How can we gradually overcome these? And this is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. As much of the Indian civilization ethos says, this process can take a whole lifetime. But then it is all about being aware of it. It's about being mindful of it, as the Buddhists say. So just by being aware of it, we are able to gradually move forward. This becomes a fundamental process of achieving change. Being aware of our follies. We can't overcome them overnight, but we can move in a particular direction. We can gradually start understanding that, yes, we have this folly. This awareness is the beginning of change, of self-awareness. But it requires a certain shift in perspective. That means we must aspire to have a true knowledge. We must aspire to collect to a larger consciousness. So as Sri Aurobindo said, it is about aspiration. While we have the rejection of these, greed, envy, hatred, but it's also, we cannot do that unless we aspire for true knowledge. So this aspiration has to be there at the same time. But also, we have to, very, very often we know it. It's about the arrogance, the ego. Unless we are able to cut down on our egos, cut down on our arrogance, we will reach nowhere. All this becomes the theoretical stuff to be just understood intellectually. If we have to move forward, we have to cut our arrogance, we have to cut our egos, we have to reject all the allurements that are coming from greed and envy and so on. This together is a task. We have to gradually move forward and be at least aware of it, even if we are not able to take much steps forward. This is what we call self-awareness. And a person who's self-aware becomes much more useful for society, because then when he connects to people, he connects to people quite easily then, because connection requires humility. Being human, when you are connecting to a very poor person, one has to be very humble. One must be able to respect their opinion. One must be able to, be part of their existence in a way, free from biases. One has to be close to them physically, mentally, emotionally. One can call it empathy of physical, mental, emotional kind. Once we have that empathy, connection is automatic. It is brilliant connection. People immediately understand you. You are able to communicate whatever you want to do very easily. Unfortunately, in our educational system today, we are not told, we are not taught these methods of creating empathy, these methods of being human, these methods of removing biases, these methods of becoming a part of their existence. We go there as experts, and that is where the communication fails. And this is the tragedy of all this development nonsense. So to be able to create this collective awareness, we have to build self-awareness also. And this is what we have evolved over time. The whole idea of self-help group movement, and we are known as the pioneers of this movement. We trained thousands of people, government officers, bank officers, NGOs, international scholars over 20 years. And this is what we were training them in. How to create a process of collective awareness. In the Indian case, it led to the self-help movement. In the case in the West, it could lead to something else. It will need a lot of experimentation of how to use the collective awareness process, how to create collective awareness, and how then to have systems of collective decision making and action. But it requires first a facilitator. It requires a person first who's having this self-awareness himself or herself. So over the last few years, we are gradually now, there are so many people who want to make a difference to the world, who want to be a change agent, who want to do something useful to the world. and they are confused about what to do. So this can be very easily, because this idea of self-awareness, it can be broken into very simple incremental steps. We call them simple steps in action. These have evolved over time. In our case, they evolved over 20 years. These simple steps in action can be shared with the youth. It can be shared with ordinary citizens, and they can start with very small, simple steps. This is a part of small courses that we run sometimes, but these are fundamental to evolution of our, of our own being, to understand what we are, and therefore, and then to enable others to move in that direction. So the one idea of change, therefore, is to enable vast numbers of students, of even citizens, or even philanthropists, because philanthropists are simply giving. They don't know whom to give, what to give, and why to give. So even training philanthropists in what basic change is all about. But at the same time, this also requires, as we have understood, because we have been working on this for last, on the education part, we have been working for last almost 15 years. But when we create these facilitators of change, the market is not there ready for them. So now we have come to understanding that we have to create some kind of foundation, some kind of financial base through which people who now understand the process of facilitation, of building self-awareness, of self-help, of empowerment, and so on, they can be supported, they can be trained, they can be guided continuously over time. Because the normal method of doing things is very mechanical. The government does it in a very mechanical manner. It makes no sense at all. It doesn't lead to anything useful. It doesn't lead to anything sustainable. So if we have to create a process of sustainable change, we have to work with self-awareness. We have then to gradually enable a process of facilitation, learning the process of facilitation, and creating self-awareness, which automatically, as we have seen in the Indian self-help movement, leads to poverty elevation. It leads to reducing of inequality. It leads to meeting of social justice. It leads to meeting of local governance. Anything that you say, because people together are collectively thinking about it and acting on that, and they are able to make things happen locally. Once they are able to make things happen locally, there is a process of putting a group together at larger areas, and we call them federating, and they can take on larger challenges. So this process of change starts with self-awareness, has to move towards enabling a process of collective awareness, and we feel that this is fundamental to the process of meaningful, sustainable change. I would like to stop here because there are so many people watching here. I would like to get a feedback, even in this case of COVID. There are so many phenomena, and you can easily share what are these phenomena through which we can use this process of self-awareness and collective awareness to move forward.